Alongside Greg Wyshynski from ESPN and ESPN.com, this is The Sheet for Tuesday. You digging the tunes? Tuesday, March 24th. Glad to have you aboard. Were you at the game last night at MSG? Did you go?
No, I wasn't at the game last night. No, I had a television obligation with our friends at Sports Center, and that made me stay here in the home office. But speaking of that, by the way, I know everybody in the chat loves when I talk about myself. I got bumped from ABC News today.
You got bumped? What were you supposed to be talking about? What were you supposed to talk about?
I was supposed to be talking about the Eastern Conference playoff race, but the reason I got bumped is I guess Tiger Woods is part of this golf thing going on. Mm-hmm. And maybe nostalgic, actually. Like, hockey getting bumped for Tiger Woods is very Sports Illustrated 1998 coded. Yeah. There was a moment where Sports Illustrated did a pretty good job on hockey. Michael Farber, we've talked about him on the show before, without question, the best hockey writer that ever lived. And they used to dedicate a lot of space to hockey. Then Tiger came along, and slowly but surely, it became sort of like Golf Illustrated when Tiger came, and they realized all the people buying Sports Illustrated were golf people. And then the hockey became like you had to go to the front of the magazine and see that little paragraph about somebody in Minnesota who scored a fancy goal, and that was all the hockey content. So I felt very 1998 coded. Tiger Woods bumping hockey off of ABC News.
Have you been rebooked? And the most important question, since you did get booked but bumped, do you still get paid?
Well, I won't answer that, but I will tell you that they said that I will probably hop on closer to the playoffs, which again is very NHL coded in the sense that that's when everybody starts really caring about hockey. It's when we get to the playoffs.
Understood. Anywho, let's get right to the show. I want to spend a lot of time, and we're going to talk to Brent Wallace coming up at the bottom of the hour from the Coming in Hot pod. But what we saw last night, holy smokes. The Blueprints is powered by FanDuel. Download the app today and play your game on FanDuel. Coming up on the program was almost on ABC. He is Greg Wyshynski from ESPN and ESPN.com. He was closer than me. He was close.
So close.
Both of us didn't make it on, but at least he was close. At least he was in the green room. At least he got like feathers and makeup done. Not me. I just sat here twiddling my thumbs. We'll talk about Nikita Kucherov. We'll talk about East versus West. We will talk to Brent Wallace of the Coming in Hot podcast. And we'll talk about the playoff race very much on. And if the out-of-town scoreboard is kind to the Ottawa Senators and they do their business correctly tonight, all of a sudden the team in Canada's capital will find themselves in a playoff position. So, Greg, I had to do numerous double takes at the end of the first and end of the second of the SOG. Not that it's the be-all and end-all of stats or proxy to determine how good a team is playing or not, but when it's two in a period twice, things aren't going right. And this was Mika Zibanejad night as well, as we all know at MSG. Where do you want to begin on this disaster? And even JT Miller afterwards, pointed at himself along with everybody else on that Rangers squad as having laid an egg in that one. I thought Shesterkin was good though.
Well, that's your given. That's your constant. That's also your problem if you're the Rangers and you want to bottom out, is that you have one of the best goalies in the world on your roster, maybe the best.
They need Tim Murray running this team.
Yeah,
he knows how to handle goalies that are trying to win games.
Who do you think Edmonton would give up for Shesterkin?
Holy smokes. I think I don't. Well, I mean, neither of the two big boys up front. Boy,
Evan Bouchard for Igor Shesterkin. The trade was 1-for-1.
That's what I'm wondering about. But then you're making another problem. Then you're chasing another. Then all of a sudden, like you fix one hole, but you create another one. But you really do need a goaltender in Edmonton.
All right, then let's expand the trade. Evan Bouchard and Tristan Jarry for Igor Shesterkin and Adam Fox. There you go. Problem solved for all parties. Adam Fox gets to be happy somewhere else. Edmonton gets their goalie.
Yeah, I don't know that I can see that one happening.
And they get to talk to Connor first when he's a free agent, which might happen anyway. But that's also a thing. By the way, I want to point out something. So
what's up?
Sean Avery was on the Adam Friedland show, and there are probably people in the audience that are like, what is that? Go look it up. He's a comedian. I actually spoke to him at length before the Sean Avery interview, and he's a cool guy. Sean Avery on that interview said with some level of confidence and authority that I didn't anticipate hearing that Connor McDavid will be a Ranger. when his contract is up. Now, I think there's been speculation to that end, but I just found it to be interesting that Avery was so emphatic about it, and I don't think anybody hockey related listened to that interview and really picked up on him saying that. But I was sort of startled by how matter of fact it was for a guy that still has some tentacles into the MSG universe.
That's all been in whisper circles for a long time. But here's the thing that I think about when I think about Connor McDavid. I was mentioning this on the program yesterday. When you look around the NHL, and the caveat here is every team would move heaven on earth to get Connor McDavid. Which team out there is close enough to winning that would lure McDavid away from the Oilers? Like if you're Connor McDavid, if you're looking around right now, no, I'm talking about like trade. Like we'll do trade first, because I think we all look at this and say he's got one more year with the Edmonton Oilers for sure, and then after that it's uncomfortable conversation time again. Which team out there is good enough that Connor will get what Connor wants? And here's the cautionary tale. You know what the cautionary tale is for Connor McDavid right now? Wayne
Lindros?
Gretzky. No, Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah.
Wayne Gretzky, who left Edmonton and got close once.
Right.
In 1990.
And then Edmonton wins without him.
Like the cautionary tale is
Draisaitl's Messier. He leads them to victory after that dead weight McDavid gets shipped off to Los Angeles.
Right, yes.
But I mean, you need a team that's close enough to win that also has a robust farm system and enough futures to placate Edmonton. Because obviously Edmonton is now going to probably... I mean, listen, that's the other question too, is like if it ever came to that, would they pivot, or would they have to stay relevant because Draisaitl's still going to be there?
Have to stay relevant.
And it's probably the latter, right? Yeah.
Have to stay relevant.
So to answer your question,
honestly, the point is his best chance to win is still Edmonton. His best chance. I was saying yesterday, what Edmonton needs is more geeks with computers, more than anything else. But they've got Draisaitl, they've got McDavid, they've got Bouchard. I know the goaltending is an issue, but his best chance to win right now, based on the marketplace right now, because don't forget, if you're trading him somewhere, you're going to devalue the team you go to. Because they're going to have to give a boatload to get Connor McDavid. His best chance to win is still Edmonton. It's still Edmonton.
Could Dallas do it?
Don't think so. They don't.
Because they already gave up. They already gave up assets for Rant.
They've given up a ton. I mean, you're looking at like your number one asset is Maverick Bourque, and I like Maverick Bourque, but not as a key piece of a Connor McDavid deal. You'd be giving up something sizable from your roster.
Could Montreal do it?
Montreal is an interesting one. Montreal might be able to, but you're still going to have to move one of your big players off that roster. Like take your pick from someone off that first line.
Nick Suzuki for Connor McDavid. The trade is 1-for-1. Who says no? I've been thinking a lot about the trade is 1-for-1, by the way, because Adam Larson is playing his 1,000th game, which is kind of amazing. Like I think that's kind of snuck up on me that Adam Larson's going to play 1,000 games in this league. Man. But is there ever been a player who's been more defined by a tweet than Adam Larson? Well, I guess Jamie Benn, but also Adam Larson. The trade is 1-for-1.
Yeah, that really did make that one. Both of them, Taylor Hall and Adam Larson. The trade is 1-for-1.
Yeah.
I always liked Adam Larson. I think again, like if you're based on his draft position, you're thinking like, okay, this guy's got to shoot the lights out. This guy's got to put up significant points. You know which team wants Adam Larson? Every single team.
Every single team.
Single team.
To go back to your original question, I don't know what the hell happened to the Rangers last night. Like it's an embarrassment on top of an embarrassment on top of an embarrassment.
You know what it looked like to me? It looked like one team was super hungry to get to the playoffs, and the other team was just checked out.
They're completely checked out.
Just checked out.
The two things but to answer your question, the two things I thought about most last night were, one, has there been a day in the last 5 months where Mike Sullivan didn't regret his decision in the National Hockey League? Obviously, Mike's feeling pretty good about life, having secured a gold medal for the United States. But like he clearly chose to dive into a pool of rebuilding that he swore he didn't want to be a part of with Pittsburgh. And meanwhile, Pittsburgh looks rejuvenated. And they might not have been had he still been there, but it's clear that Pittsburgh and Kyle Dubas have a better plan in place than do Chris Drury and the New York Rangers. That's indisputable right now, don't you think?
I'm trying to find a hot take reason to disagree with you, and I can't.
Exactly.
This one's obvious. Yeah, this does not look like a good fit for Mike Sullivan. No one's going to cry for him this year because he's got a gold medal around his neck at all. But at the same time, the day-to-day drudgery of being an NHL coach was not made any easier last night by the team that he coaches. There's just the other honestly, just like normally you'll see like even in like the dead zone, right? Even in the end of the season when your team is well out of it and guys are checked out, when one of your teammates is having a big night, like Zibanejad was having last night, normally the team would be like, "All right, come on, like this is embarrassing." Like you go into the first intermission with 2 up on the SOG. And you all look around your teammates, and then you look over at Zibanejad, and you're like, "Okay, look, dude, we got to pick this up." Like, well, I don't know what it says about because on the one hand, it's only one game, but on the other hand, it's a pretty symbolic game because of the player involved here. Like, how do they even look at Zibanejad after that? Like, how do they go? Let me ask, how many apologies to Zibanejad were there last? Oh, sorry, dude, we laid an egg.
How many guys in that team have it?
And only 4 Ottawa defense. Chabot gets cross-checked. Lassie Thompson leaves, and Ottawa's down to 4 defensemen.
Yeah, that was a real kick in the nuts for them. They were down to 4 defensemen. How many players in the Rangers actually have a deep appreciation of Zibanejad? There's been a lot of turnover on that roster.
No, but
maybe it meant less to some of them than you believe. No, but the other thing that really struck me about last night was again JT Miller having to speak on a lackluster Rangers performance, which seems to have happened weekly in his tenure as Rangers captain.
Yeah.
And so our friend Chris Johnston wrote an interesting story on The Athletic about how the Brandon Carlo for Fraser Minton trade haunts the Maple Leafs. And it reminded me of us talking about the fabled Mike Milbury scale that used to be on Puck Daddy.
That was yours.
That's right. It's what we used to use on Puck Daddy for these trades. And 4 Milburys was an absolute fleecing. And I think you could say at this point that the Brandon Carlo trade is a 4 Milbury trade in favor of the Bruins. But it got me thinking about JT Miller, having him once again lament his lot in life and that of the Rangers last night. Because I did see somebody question whether the JT Miller trade is one of the biggest lose-lose trades in the history of recent NHL history. If you you said that, then maybe it was you that said it. But I mean that could be the one Milbury trade. It could be one that did not help either team. Nope. Like it was just like a disaster on both ends. And
both sides,
we all said that you got to put JT Miller in a situation where he's winning, where he's happy, where he's contributing, and right now he's in the single worst situation you could put JT Miller in. Oh, and by the way, you've also made him your North Star. Like that's the biggest problem for the Rangers right now is not only did they acquire JT Miller, who's going to be a sullen little bastard for the foreseeable future until this team gets better, but you've decided to mold and shape your team around the way this guy plays, who's not playing like that anymore because he's got boo-boo face.
I think, so a couple of things there. One, I still maintain that was the worst trade in NHL history. And when we think of worst trades, we think lopsided trades, but this definition means worst because both teams came out of it poorer than they were before they made the deal. That's why I think this is the worst trade in NHL history. I remember the first time I said that, people came back at me with like huge lopsided trades. And I'm like, no, you're not getting what I'm saying here. Both teams lost this deal significantly, and it harmed both teams. But to the JT Miller captaincy thing and the JT Miller presence on this team, I think that this was a reaction from Chris Drury based on the reaction from that room about Barclay Goodrow and Jacob Trouba and how they just went in the tank. Right? They went into the tank. To your point, it wasn't just JT Miller with boo-boo face then. This was the whole Rangers team before JT Miller even arrived. And this was Chris Drury saying, you know what? This is my guy. I'm bringing him in. He's going to be the captain, and we're not going to put up with all the grumbling about me and how I do my job here. This is our guy. This is new direction. I don't care I don't care if you all thought that Vincent Trocheck was going to be the captain. This is our captain. This is the one that was forced on the team.
I think that's right, but I also think that he embodies the way that Drury and probably James Dolan wants this team to play. And you could tell that because what was their first gambit? Their first gambit was trying to tamper their way into getting Brady Tkachuk, and that didn't work. And there is
soft tamper their way in.
There is sort of a shared DNA in the way Tkachuk plays and the way that JT Miller plays and the way the Rangers weren't playing. So I think you're right. I think this is my foot soldier. This is my guy. I've known him from back in the day. Like he's now in place. Y'all got sad about the way that I forced Trouba and Gaudreau out. Well, guess what? New sheriff in town, JT Miller. But I also think it's like he embodied the way they want the Rangers to play, and he's not even playing that way this season for them. And it's like, what do you do?
I don't know.
You trade Shirk into the Oilers. I mean, we just discussed it. We figured it out.
I don't know that that's going to happen. But if they could... Like here's the other thing about this is that there's no one coming on July 1st. Like there's no one out there that's going to help this team.
There's no Panarin.
There's no
on his way.
There's
well, I mean,
none.
There could be, but I think that ship sailed.
But like it's going to be the Alex Tuch sweepstakes on July 1st. And even then, I'm still, even though he hasn't signed, I mean, every time the Buffalo Sabres win again, jeez. I don't know how they're going to get better. There's no one coming up from the AHL. None of the prospects are ready to pop. None of them. So how does this team get better?
They're not ready to pop.
It's got to be by trade.
It's got to be by trade. And again, this is a terrible season, and they have some major decisions to make with some very important players. Adam Fox. But I really like Perreault, and I really like Will Cooley.
Perreault,
got one of the best boys in the world.
Zibanejad and Lafreniere as a line look really good.
Yeah, they've got some pieces for the future, but what they have to do is expunge the present, and that's going to be the really tricky part for the Rangers.
Adam Fox and Will Cooley for Morgan Riley.
What?
Just throw it out there.
Deal.
I got Zach in the background. Deal.
I wouldn't do that for Morgan Riley 10 years ago, let alone Morgan Riley now. Jesus. Although you bring up an interesting point, though, Marek, which is that what if there was a trade to be made for someone else on the Leafs roster?
A. Matthews
with more value.
Here's the thing. The Maple
Wouldn't
Leafs.
The lights on Broadway shine brightly for Austin Matthews? Couldn't you see his name on the marquee outside of Madison Square Garden?
Do you not feel though that he is destined west more than anywhere else? Like if he's going to go somewhere, and again, like I think this is going to be an interesting summer for Austin Matthews because this has to be the Maple Leafs showing Austin Matthews that they have a plan to get back to relevancy. And that plan can't take 5 years. Like, it's got to be soon. And if it's not, then I think if you're Austin Matthews, you say to yourself, I don't have a lot of time to hang around. Like, the thing about the Oilers with Connor McDavid is they can still show them, like, look, here's our path here. Look, here's who we have. And here's how we can fill around the edges to keep this team competitive and keep this window open. The Maple Leafs can't sell that right now. Like, I think this is going to be a fascinating offseason for the Toronto Maple Leafs and Austin Matthews, because that is going to be the internal conversation with him and his agent, Judd Moldaver. And then at what point does he say, like, I don't think that this team is going to get good enough, fast enough for me to stick around? Like how, again, like we just said the same thing about the Rangers. How is this team going to get better? These are the number 1 and 2 revenue earners in the NHL. And they're in the same spot. Can't get better fast. Can't get back to relevancy quick.
We're just double checking something. So Mark Stone comes off the cap in 27.
So Matthews is going to Vegas. Is that what you're saying? Reunite with Mitch Marner?
First of all, if he's an available player, that means Vegas will go for him. Second of all,
if he has a pulse and he's a superstar,
wouldn't you love to see the ultimate Mitch wasn't the problem tour of Austin Matthews going to Vegas, winning a cup with Mitch and Jack Eichel? Like that'd be the ultimate, wouldn't it?
Wow. Wow, that's spectacular.
And that'd be and that again, like every time we talk about Vegas, I hear the NWO theme in my head, but that would also be a real NWO move. Austin Matthews, everybody has him dog-eared for the LA Kings. He ends up with Vegas. Oof.
Would surprise nobody. Should surprise nobody. Hey, speaking of, I guess not speaking of, but getting to the Pacific Division here, I want to share a point with you that I was talking to Colby Cohen about yesterday. I look at the Pacific, and first of all, there's some like elite players in this division. Elite forwards, elite defenders, like really good players. Like run it down. Every team's got them. Are we seeing nothing more than because they're the laughing stock of the NHL? It's the Piñata division of the NHL. Are they nothing more than a division where all the goalies are conspiring against their own teams? Is this like the worst division of goaltenders we've ever seen? Like every single team's got bad goaltending.
No, that's part of it. The other part of it is that
all of it.
Some of these teams have, but some of these teams also have bad goaltending and don't know how to defend. I mean, because they're young. Like the Ducks are terrible defensively. The Sharks are terrible defensively, but it's because they're young. Yeah, and again, like we'll all have a laugh at the pillow fight in about 2 years when all these teams are like loaded and great and playing for the cup.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the goaltending top to bottom of that division is atrocious this year.
It's awful. I look at the Norris. I mean, there was bad goaltending in the Norris too back in the day. But I look at the Pacific right now and I say to myself,
how dare you?
This is just bad goaltending. Like everyone's just got bad. Now Vegas is without Alex Pietrangelo. Is kind of in some ways this generation's version of Chris Pronger. Not as nasty, but the same effect. St. Louis still hasn't recovered from losing Pietrangelo. Just like whenever Chris Pronger would leave a team, they would go in the toilet, and they'd have a hard time getting back to being competitive. Edmonton's blue line issues are well told, but even they can't outscore just awful goaltending. I just think this is like the worst division I think maybe we've ever seen of goaltenders right now this season.
In a season where goaltending is at its worst. I put this stat out there before, but we are still right now at a league-wide save percentage of .897. Now, I know some of that is in the way that shots are being calculated and tabulated, and I think it's also in the way that teams are being more judicious with how many shots they take. It is no longer much to the chagrin of Jeff Merrick, the Corsi Hockey League. 897 would be the lowest save percentage league-wide since 1993-94. The last year before the trap took over, and the last great fire wagon offensive year that we had. So yeah, it's a bleak year for goaltending overall, and it's never been the bleakest is in the Pacific Division. But the other thing about it too, Marek, I was thinking about you when the pillow fight line came up about the Pacific.
Yep.
I mean, one of these teams is going to be in the conference final unless a Central Division wild card goes on a crazy run. And it reminded me of our conversation the other day about the expansion years when the St. Louis Blues would always play for the Cup because someone had to.
Someone had to. And they never
Someone's
won a game.
Coming out of the Pacific
never won a
Division
game. I know.
Someone has to. Yeah.
Someone has to. Listen, big one tonight. Big one last night for the Ottawa Senators. Big one tonight for the Ottawa Senators. The host of the Coming In Hot podcast, your definitive source of Ottawa Senators information, is Brent Wallace, and he joins me now. Us now, rather. Brent, first of all, we've been focusing on last night's game so much from the Rangers' point of view and how futile they are. And part of me in the back of my head is like, you want to give like the Ottawa Senators some credit here? Like they went into a really emotional night, Zibanejad night and all that, and just shut the Rangers down and did it for a good chunk with only 4 defenders. How did you look at last night?
A couple of things. One, people worried about Igor Shesterkin in goal because Ottawa had never beaten him in regulation at MSG. I think he was 4-0-1 with like a .966 save percentage, 2 shutouts. Then there was, no Jake Sanderson. They had lost Dennis Gilbert, who was a recent call-up. They're playing Lassie Thompson, who last played in the National Hockey League in 2022. Like, if there was a chance they might lose the game, it was last night. But the way Travis Green has this team playing defensively, again, they just added a shot on goal, which I'm a little annoyed by because they gave him now 10 shots on goal. That's a little disappointing. I asked if it could be challenged. They gave up 14 to the Leafs the game before. I think they've allowed 28 or more shots once in the last like 28, 29 games. Like they just don't give you anything.
Yeah. It's remarkable. And the other thing about the Ottawa Senators too is I still think that they have a lot of players that can play up higher. And I think about Montepallo specifically on the blue. Oh, I know what I wanted to ask you. Are we seeing Carter Yakimchuk make his debut tonight? Do we know yet?
So he's been called up, and so has Jorian Donovan, Sean Donovan's kid.
Yep.
They're both expected to play because there isn't anybody else. So unless they go 5D or Curtis McDermott returns as a defenseman, they're playing.
Okay. Thanks for making it.
So we'll see the NHL debut of 2D on the Sens blue line tonight in a game that is arguably the biggest game of the season for Ottawa.
I was going to say it's a little bit critical. I had an NHL executive tell me that an Eastern Conference executive.
It was Steve Staios.
It was not Steve Staios.
Brad Treliving.
although what I'm about to
Ken
say
Hughes.
would maybe
Don Sweeney.
what I'm about to say will make you think it probably is Steve Staios. But he told me at one point that of all the teams that are milling around in the Eastern Conference right now, the one that worried him the most was Ottawa, because their underlying numbers and the way they play have been so good all season that if they could get a save in a critical game in the playoffs, they could easily be the biggest disruptor in the Eastern Conference. What say you to that?
I agree with him. We used to make fun of Travis because he'd come out after every game and they would lose because they would give up 5 goals. And he'd be like, I liked our game. And we kind of chuckle because, you actually played a pretty good game, but you never got any saves. And now suddenly you're starting to get some saves. Like James Reimer's now 4-0. And Linus Ullmark in his last 18 games has that magical .897 save percentage you were just talking about. He's 12-2-3 in his last 18 starts. Like they're now getting goaltending. They've got lines that all contribute. Last night it was their third and fourth lines that scored in Pinto and Fogle. Warren Fogle has been outstanding since he's arrived from LA at the trade deadline. They are deep as a team. If they can be healthy on the blue line and have Jake Sanderson, I don't know what the update is on Thomas Chabot. He was in a sling at the end of last night's game. He's out for a while, obviously. If they can be strong defensively, they're as good as any team to play playoff hockey.
That's such. I'm so happy you shouted out Fogle because, like, for all of our winners and losers and report cards and all that shit that we do at the trade deadline, like sometimes it's the Warren Fogle trade that ends up being one of the top 5 moves of the deadline. He's been awesome for Ottawa after the deadline.
He can't be stopped. You can only hope to contain him, kind of thing. He has found his scoring touch. It reminds me of was it Deneau that went from LA to Montreal and then started to score as well. He just probably needed a change of scenery. Playing with Lars Eller and Fabian Zetterlund, and sometimes Travis will put Zetterlund and Fogle along with Tim Stützle on a line, and they can find ways to score goals. It's just a way, like that fourth line is pretty good the way they can contribute, and Warren Fogle has been very impressive.
Well, I mean, was that like? I know that Steve Staios has the reputation of being one of those general managers that is, and I guess Brad Treliving is like this too. There's a few. I mean, everybody's on the phone all the time, but Staios is like involved in everything. Like he's involved in a million conversations going on around the NHL. As best as you can ascertain, was it like specifically they wanted bottom 6 speed? Like, is that what they were after?
They needed
trade
speed.
Deadline?
100%. Like, and I brought this up earlier as one of the things that Travis kind of talked about early during training camp is they're not fleet of foot. If they don't have a lot of great skaters, and you can tell with the additions of like Warren Fogle, even Lars Eller helps put some speed, if you will, on that fourth line. I know you're talking about a guy that's 36. It may not be, but he's actually a pretty good skater. They just added some more guys who can skate. Jordan Spence is another one in their lineup. It changes the dynamic of this team and the way they play with Travis. Because Travis, as you can, it's a forecheck that is in your face all the time.
So here's the thing about teams that like, first of all, Ottawa goes into MSG last night and just like steamrolls the New York Rangers. Like, okay, that's a team that's like, they're not trying to get in the playoffs going backwards. Like they're skating forwards into the playoffs. Tonight it's the Detroit Red Wings. The Red Wings still without Dylan Larkin. When you talk about important games, statement games, however you want to phrase this one, like this is another opportunity where the Ottawa Senators can show how serious they are. right? I know they're dinged up. You lose Thomas Chabot. It's never easy. But like this is one of those games where it's like if you want to make the playoffs, it's right there for you. Like, and if they get some help from the out of town scoreboard, it's right there. It's right there.
All they got to do is win.
All they got to do is win.
And so, well, I guess they need the other teams to lose. So good. Thanks, Tips.
But if they don't win, it doesn't really matter what the Islanders are doing and what Columbus is doing. It's like take care of your business, and you get a little help from the out of town scoreboard. It's right there for you. It's right.
So
there.
A couple things. One is no matter how good they seem to be, like in the last 26 games. So January 13th, they're 17-5-4. They're the 5th best team in the National Hockey League. The Columbus Blue Jackets are ahead of them. Like they just can't seem to gain ground, right? It's just wild how good they are. But here's the thing that we all seem to think. Linus Ullmark will get the starting goal. He didn't play last night. He has yet to really steal a game, maybe once against Vegas earlier in the year, yet to steal a game this season. This is the game for him to step up with your D being depleted, with guys on the back-to-back, being in Detroit who has been the better team all season long. They're 3-0 against Ottawa. To make a statement, to steal the game. Let's see what Linus Ullmark can do.
The problem
it's a good time to do it. Oh, go ahead, sir.
I was going to say the problem is, and I really like he has, as far as goalie skill goes, top 5 skill in the NHL. Like there are so many goaltenders that work so hard and just look at Linus Ullmark and go like, I wish I had like that skill as a goalie. He just sort of has. We haven't seen the bite down on the mouth guard goalie yet. The Jeremy Swayman performance against the Detroit Red Wings on Saturday was like, no, boys, we're going to win this effing game. We haven't seen that from Ullmark. But to be honest with you, I've never seen that from Ullmark. Never seen it from Ullmark.
I agree with you. Like you want that fire, right?
Yeah.
Just give me that one little bit of fire that, boys, there's no chance they're scoring tonight. I got this game.
Yeah, that's what you want.
And I agree with you. And I never want to question anybody because I'm not inside Linus Ullmark's head whatsoever. But you just it doesn't appear on the ice. I believe he's competitive. It's just not the fire of I will slash your ankles if I have to, a la Billy Smith.
We should point out it's been a challenging year for the guy. I mean, he's clearly
but I'm talking about but the thing is I'm talking even historically. Like he's
no,
never
I agree.
Been that look down the ice at John Gibson and go like, hey buddy, I'm not letting him in. I'm not letting him in.
You've seen his playoff numbers. I mean, I think his playoff numbers are indicative of that very thing that you're talking about. But the Detroit, they're catching Detroit at the right time. Detroit, I saw is 24th in the NHL since the Olympic break in 5-on-5 offense. A lot of that's Larkin being out, but. He's out again, so maybe they can put up a good defensive effort against him. But the thing I wanted to ask you about, Brett, was so Ottawa is on pace, I think, right now for 97 points. I think I saw that from Bleacher Report earlier today, and that would break the record for most points by a non-playoff team. And so the question then becomes, if they do miss out, how do they process this season? What is the ultimate review of this season? Is it just that, all right, the Blue Jackets happened to outkick our coverage and we a win here, win there, it could have been different? Or what do you think is the reaction if they don't make the cut this year?
It's just simple and easy. Their goaltending is just going to get blamed. And I guess Steve Stais may have to wear some of that, where they gave Linus Levi Merilainen a contract after he played just 12 games last year to be the backup, and he wasn't very good, and he struggled at the beginning of the year. They waited until January or end of December to find James Reimer and bring him in, who had just played in the Spengler Cup and wasn't playing. I think that's a major miscalculation. The other one is their penalty kill, and it may be a byproduct of goaltending as well, but their penalty kill at the beginning of the year was historically atrocious. And they made a change January 25th and put Mike Yeo in charge. And since then, I think it's 8th overall in the league. That was 50 games into the year. Those two things, I think, are what the problem is with Ottawa. Ottawa, if you look, I believe, compared to last year at this time, are 2 points, 3 points ahead of where they were last year. And they were in the first wild card spot last year comfortably. So I think it just comes down to those two things. And I think they're just going to roll again and see what happens with Linus next year. I mean, it's the first year of his 4-year extension. I just don't think much changes if that's what we're looking for.
Do you have a thought on the general manager of the team that the Senators are facing off against tonight? And that's, of course, Steve Yzerman. Now, he did do something at deadline this year. David Perron comes in and Justin Falk comes in as well. But at the same time, I don't know that that's going to be enough for the Detroit Red Wings this year. And listen, many people have made the same point. If his last name isn't Yzerman, the heat is on. But if Detroit doesn't make the playoffs, again, I'm going to have to think that it's Yzerman watch time. And I've had people say, yeah, the heat will be on. And I've had people say, no, you know what? He'll have one more year. But we all know the Ilitch family too. And that rink hasn't had fans in it after the second week of April since they opened.
Yeah, no playoff games at Little Caesars, right?
Nope.
He may have bought himself a year based on the performance of this team. Just being able, for a long, long time, right? They were top 3. They were second in the Atlantic in a very tough division. I think he may have bought himself a little more time with that. I couldn't tell you, but I think he may have earned it. I think he had a big mess to clean up. And if we saw it with Steve Stais, trying to clean up those messes isn't easy. And I know 8 years is a long time. I give you that.
They blamed everything on the goaltending last year, right? Everything was we would have been there if and John Gibson
had 5 guys playing goal, right? Was that last year where he had 5 different guys in goal during the season?
And,
I think James Reimer was part of that group.
And
he was,
and they ended up blaming the whole thing on the goaltending, and then that was cleaned up. Now, as one person told me yesterday. He did make moves at deadline, but they have the built-in excuse of the Larkin injury. And I say to that, you know what? Maybe that coupled with the last name is enough to keep the torches away from the castle. But it's only going to be a matter of time here, right, guys?
They did lose Andrew Kopp too, so they lost their top 2 centers for a while. That'll have a little bit of an impact. But I don't think they're a better team than Ottawa, despite where they are in the standings. I don't think they're as deep. I think they've got some holes. I don't think they're as in-your-face style of hockey that Steve would know from playing his days in Detroit. But I think he's earned himself a year.
We'll see. For a good portion of the season, they were kind of a very top-heavy team as well. But Stathleets has them at 37% probability to make the playoffs, Detroit. So not great. By the way, Ottawa's at 72%, courtesy of our friends at Stathleets, who have a specious formula to calculate all of this. But nonetheless, the numbers are always interesting.
Do you know what I found really strange with betting sites is that Ottawa was ahead of Montreal and other teams in a playoff spot to win the Stanley Cup. I found that one was so I laid a bet. I'm like, that seems really weird. But they were 10th or 12th overall to win. I was like, this is So
how would
everybody can see it?
Why not?
So this is interesting too. Let me start to finish this one on this note. Buffalo, Montreal, Ottawa, Detroit were those 4 teams that we are all waiting to take that next step. Now, Montreal got there first. Ottawa got into the playoffs last year as well. Buffalo is never going to lose another hockey game. And the Detroit Red Wings, we just had the conversation about. When you look at, ready for the big shift in the Eastern Conference, I don't know that Buffalo's as good as we've seen. This is insane going back to early December. But how would you, if you're placing them on a ladder, who's on which rung here?
It's a good question. But I've always thought Buffalo's had really good pieces. And you're always and I'm sure you guys sat there and went, how is this team not in the playoff spot or at least competitive?
Yep.
And I don't know what it was that kickstarted it in Buffalo this year, but I think they have a pretty good team. Can they hold on to it? The Alex Tuck thing will be certainly interesting to watch. I like Montreal if they had better goaltending. I could probably say the same for Ottawa right now. Ottawa needs a bigger top 6, or at least they need an addition to the top 6. I just always thought Detroit wasn't as good as they were. And like you've seen great regular season teams that can't make it in the playoffs because they just score on the outside. Like the Rangers last year when they were winning the President's Trophy were never really tough to play against. I don't think Detroit's tough to play against. They'd be last for me.
Yeah.
Tom McClellan weeping when hearing that comment. A man who demands toughness from his team.
It's not that he doesn't want them to. I just don't know that they have the personnel to do it.
Yeah, I think it's construction, not coaching, and I'm with Brent on this one. I don't think the issue there is coaching whatsoever. Listen, this has been great. Tonight's going to be a fascinating one for the Ottawa Senators. Yeah. To me, it's one of the most. By the way, this is a team full of underrated players. Let me just close on this. Whether it's Dylan Cousins, whether it's Drake Batherson, whether it's Shane Pinto, whether it's Artem Zub, who's like the most of the underrated players? Who's the most underrated guy for you?
It's easy because it's Michael Amadio, but on our show, Yorkie loves. We've made a song about Michael Amadio. He is by far the most underrated player in that group. Like that whole third line of Shane Pinto and Nick Cousins and Michael Amadio. They know how to play the game. They keep pucks alive like crazy in the offensive zone. They probably could have more goals if Amadio didn't have cement hands. But he's like that group is really fun to watch.
All right. Well, we'll be tuned in tonight.
I love Shane Pinto, man. That's a good player.
Oh,
a good hockey player.
When you have when you have Shane Pinto on your third line, you're doing all right.
Right?
You're doing
right. Like people are saying they've got to get him up the lineup. I'm like, you don't want to move someone like that up the lineup if you can have that kind of deep, because you can't win in the playoffs if you don't have deep centers.
But the thing is,
Marek, Pinto, Allmark, and a first for Shesterkin. How about that?
But here's the thing: which is the line that gets you places in the playoffs? It's your third line,
right?
Like,
third line, the Merlot line.
You're keep going, right? Like the Blake Coleman with Tampa Bay Lightning, last season with the Finns and Marchand, like. It's your third line. The
guys that always get big contracts after the playoffs, the third line.
It's so true.
Always.
It's so true. That's what
Warren Fogle.
Get in so much trouble. He may be the most underrated guy on that team right now.
Right now he might be, yeah.
Okay, 100%. You be well. We'll catch up soon. Fascinating one tonight. Ottawa Senators, Detroit Red Wings on the board this evening.
Thanks,
all right, thanks, Brent. Be good. Brent Wallace is the host of Coming in Hot. A must-listen to and must-watch podcast here on the Nation
It's a good point about people getting paid. Reminds me of the time when Bobby Holik led the crash line, and then a scant few years later, the Rangers broke the bank to sign Bobby Holik as a free agent.
I told you the story, right? So
share it again.
The story is so. I think I can tell the story. So Bobby was over. I became good friends with Bobby after his career was over. We were casual friends when he played. And he wanted to buy an OHL team. He was looking to find an investment group and buy an.
Bobby was at the Merrick compound. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So because I wanted to introduce him to people at the Oshawa Generals. This is before Rocco Tullio bought the team, and so went down and got a meeting with him and Jeff Toohey before the game. I think he just wanted to learn the landscape, and I don't think it was. Maybe he didn't just want to buy specifically an OHL team, but was interested in investing in junior hockey, whether it was OHL, USHL. Anyway, so he came over and we went out to dinner before the game, and I was asking him about the New Jersey versus the New York Rangers experience, and I said, what was the difference there? How come it didn't work with the Rangers? And he said, it goes like this. If Bobby Holik is your third line center, we're going to win the Stanley Cup. But if Bobby Holik is your first line center, we are not going to win the Stanley Cup. He goes, it's that simple. And that's what he also told me, that because Bobby doesn't drink. He said the first time he ever drank alcohol was out of the Stanley Cup when the Devils won. It was the first time he ever had a sip of alcohol. I go, what do you think? He goes, I hated it. It was terrible.
I forgot I was talking to Junior Hockey Guy for a second. Can you educate me about this Tri-City Americans thing where they went from a playoff spot to then going into a death spiral of a season? Are you familiar with any of this?
No, I haven't really followed the Tri-City story much this year.
The Tri-City story, for those who don't know, so they were 25-18-4, and they finished 1-18-2. That's talent. to get one win out of your last 21 games is talent.
I'm gonna guess it was injuries, but I would be faking the funk if I told you I know.
Is it possible JT Miller was their captain? Could have that been the issue?
Does JT Miller have a relative that plays in the Western Hockey League?
I mentioned the save percentage thing before. I should also mention that through 1,119 games so far this season, we are averaging 3.06 goals per team per game, up from last season, and we're going to break a 2-year offensive decline in the NHL, which is good news all around. It feels like it should be higher than that because I feel like we've had some real football scores in this league lately, but we're reversing the trend and we're back up to 3.06 goals per game per team.
So here's my question: the NHL, because I don't think a steady diet of 9-2 games doesn't do it for anybody. But
no,
finish the sentence. The NHL would be at its best if save percentage average was what? For everybody.
750.
No, because then it'd be brutal.
Yes, it would be.
No, because then every game is like 9-6.
Exactly. How fun is that?
No, but don't you understand
the only way the sport's going to be great in this country is if we just have Canada versus the U.S. in every game or games are 11-9
every night. What do you want to do? You want to never mind making the goalie pads bigger, make the puck smaller. Is that what we have to do now?
Hey, by any means necessary.
I'm Greg Wyshynski here to make the puck smaller. We need more goals, damn it, more goals.
I want people breaking the goals record every year. How exciting was that with Ovechkin last year? Now it's Bedard's year to break the goals record, and now it's McKenna's year to break the goals record. How fun would that be?
I don't know. I'm thinking what would the NHL be like if average save percentage was 850?
I mean, we might be headed there anyway. We'll get to find out in about 3 or 4 years.
We might be, but I still think that part of the charm of hockey is still the struggle.
Look,
right? Is you have to have some kind of struggle here.
It's the struggle, and also just look, man, I'm being flip here, but I don't want to see 11-9 games. I think the sweet spot for the NHL is probably a 4-3 game that becomes a 5-3 game with an empty netter. That's probably the peak level of NHL in the regular season to attract fans.
Would you say 4-3 is the best score? So you get 7 goals?
I think 4-3 and then an empty netter makes a 5-3 kind of game.
Not a 5-4? Or am I really splitting hairs too finely here?
I mean, I think 5-4 probably means that we watch it end in the 3-on-3, which by my measurements is fine because I love the 3-on-3. But yeah, somewhere in the neighborhood of 9 goals. 8 or 9 goals per game.
8 or 9 goals a game.
I'd like it to be. We're south of that. We're 6 goals per game. But I mean, that's kind of where I'd want it to be. And maybe even I'm high on that. Maybe it should be 4-2 is the best. I don't know. Somewhere in that neighborhood is where I would like the NHL to be on a nightly basis. In the regular season, when we get to the playoffs, all bets are off. 1-0 every night. I could give a shit. It's really the best part of dude. Because the play is going to be so electric,
it's dramatic
so
enough.
Intense
I know,
that it overcomes whatever deficiencies on the scoreboard you're going to see. There's nobody who watches a game 7 and is like, "Boy, I'd really wish there was more goal scoring in this game." No, you just want to see two teams beating the living shit out of each other for 60 minutes, and then who cares what the final score is as long as the game is as good as it can be.
That's a really good point too. I never thought of it that way. That not deliberately, but if you could choose, you want a really low scoring game in the playoffs. Give me a good 2-1. 2-1's a good playoff score. I don't know about 1-0. 2-1's a good playoff score.
2-1, yeah. But no one has ever walked away from a game 7 in the playoffs and been like, "Well, I wish there could have been more goal scoring in that game." No, we're not there for that. That's for Tuesday night between Ottawa and Detroit. Give us 5-3 then that game, and then if these two teams meet in the playoffs in a game 7, who cares how many goals there are as long as the game is played to the highest standard possible?
So, eyes on Ottawa, Detroit tonight. Eyes on Islanders, Blackhawks. Eyes on Blue Jackets, Flyers. Okay, we'll pause on there for a second. Probably wrap things up because we're getting heavy here.
By the way, Connor Bedard said that Matthew Schaefer is one of the faces of the NHL.
He is.
I like that.
He
Yeah,
is.
he is.
I think that's fantastic. But here's
luckily wasn't one of the faces on Team Canada.
We'll correct that next time around. All right, that'll be different next time around. But here's the thing
healthy.
And don't worry, you guys got your goaltending. Do you see what Swayman did against the Detroit Red Wings on the weekend?
By the way, the reaction to my Jack Hughes story that dropped yesterday, once again, underscores a common theme on the MvsW shows that we do on the sheet, which is that these guys completely screwed themselves. They have this is one of the all-time bag fumbles as far as public opinion and public persona. My God.
Where is it on the Sports Illustrated cover? Hockey. It's after the Rangers won the cup. Hockey is hot. The NBA is not. And then the following season, the players got locked out.
Oh no, I think overall hockey is extremely hot. But
I'm saying like on the scale
hockey
of like
is hot,
killing
Team USA is not.
On the thing is like as far as like killing the momentum of something. Like the Rangers win the Stanley Cup, everybody's watching hockey.
You mean how the
this
lockout
is
killed
insane.
it?
Yes.
Oh,
like there was massive momentum in '94.
I would say right now it is on that level. I would say as of right now it is the Rangers win the Stanley Cup and then there's a lockout. Like that's the level of momentum stopping that occurred for Team USA with what they did after they won gold. And now will that remain that way? I don't know. Like part of me when I was writing that Jack Hughes story is like, oh, I wonder in 10 years if somebody's curious about what this last month has been for this guy who put his name into the record books, what they'll think of this story. Because I know right now people are like, you PR bastard fluffing up this guy, pedo protector guy. Like that's what it is right now for me writing this story. But I don't know if it's going to be like that in 10 years. But right now, there's no question. Like those guys are nuclear toxic in the eyes of a lot of fans. We talked about it as in sort of the in the aggregate a couple weeks ago. But until I wrote the Hall of Fame puck thing and broke that story, and then wrote the feature yesterday, I didn't really have empirical evidence as to how bad things were post gold medal for these guys because of the things that they decided to do or not do.
Something tells me this is a story that's not going away, and it's a story that we're going to continue to revisit like every few months with all of these guys, with all these. And I wonder who does the first, you know what, we should have done things differently story or interview.
Oh, I mean, Swayman said that, but I mean, he didn't do an interview.
But he just sort of talked about like in a scrum, like vis-a-vis one very specific event. I'm talking about like
women's hockey thing.
Yes, yeah. I'm talking about like the totality of all of this. Who does that interview from that team?
I don't think anybody is, because I think half of them are completely fine with the way that things went, maybe more than half, and the ones who aren't are going to definitely keep their personal politics out of this thing. Because honestly, you have to remember, like, there is a certain amount of pressure, I'm sure, on these guys to hold rank and to hold the line, and because they're going to have to all play with each other 2 years from now in the World Cup, and then play again, hopefully most of them together in 2030. So I'm sure there is. I mean, maybe it's unspoken, but I'm sure there's a lot of pressure on these guys to not be the one to speak out, because then you're kind of throwing all your guys under the bus.
That's a good point. Okay. We got to hustle. We got to wrap up the show here in a couple of seconds. Any parting shots before you leave? Anything to promote?
Of course, once again, completely forgot to talk about the one thing I wanted to talk about. I feel like the winds have shifted on Nikita Kucherov in a very interesting way in like the last week or so.
Yeah.
I've seen people call him the best player in hockey. Our friend Jay Fresh on Twitter was saying he's the closest we'll probably come to seeing Wayne Gretzky play in the modern game, which is a hell of a statement.
Wow.
And that went pretty viral. Maybe it's because he's now leading the league in points. I just feel like there's been an outpouring of appreciation for Nikita Kucherov coming at a very opportune time for his MVP prospects, let's call it. But I'm kind of astounded. Like, I feel like there's been a lot of people on his tip lately, and I can't figure out what's changed. It certainly isn't the Lightning's fortunes, because they're not even leading their division anymore. But there's a lot of people in the Nikita Kucherov Appreciation Society right now, and I found that to be pretty interesting.
So let me share one thing with you. I was having a conversation with someone on the weekend. I've been testing this one out with a few people, and it's always been greeted with a flat tire. But here goes.
Yeah.
I talked to someone on the weekend and said, there's no way I'm ever going to vote for Nikita Kucherov for Hart Trophy this year. I said, why is that? He goes, he had 2.5 weeks off. Everybody else killed themselves at the Olympics.
Wow.
What do you think of that one?
So, I mean, it is the most subtlest way to say that I'm not voting for this guy because he's Russian.
No, this person said, like, it's nothing to do with the Russian thing, but he was off for 2.5 weeks. So I ain't voting for him. He got arrested. Everybody else went and mangled themselves for 2.5 weeks.
Another vote cast for Macklin Celebrini, Olympian. There you go. That's really funny.
All right. You enjoy the rest of your day. We'll catch up on Thursday.
Thanks, bud.
All right. Wyshynski, ESPN and ESPN.com. MvsW Tuesday. We'll turn into MvsW Thursday later on this week. All right, Zach, we're going to get to your shines. Anything, by the way, in that conversation that tickled your bearded chin?
The one thing Brent brought up, by the way, about how the Sens have better odds to win the Stanley Cup than a lot of the other teams that are already currently in a playoff spot. I was digging through Money Puck the other day, and the way that their model was favoring the Sens, and I'd have to check this here again, how it was still playing out, but the Sabres, for example, they have a better chance of winning the Stanley Cup because they do the percentage odds of winning each round and then their likelihood of winning the cup. They have a better chance of winning the Stanley Cup if the Sens are not in the playoffs than they do if the Sens are in the playoffs. Do you see what I'm saying? So, like, once the Sens get in, their pathway through of getting there was decreased over on Money Puck based on the valuation Money Puck and the projections Money Puck have put into the Senators and the type of damage the Sens could do. So, just to support Brent's point there about that and how I found that one the other day and I thought that was interesting.
That is a fascinating one. All right, I got to get moving, so let's get to your shine here. I'm not sure if you have a poem or a story or a canoe ride.
Got something.
The sheet is powered by FanDuel. Play your game with FanDuel. It's the NHL season. FanDuel, your home for all the action on the ice. From Blue Line to Bet Slip, we've got you covered all season with unique promos, live offerings, and more features to let you play your game. Missed puck drop? No sweat. With a live same-game parlay, you can build your bets up until the final buzzer. Download FanDuel Sportsbook today and play your game. Please play responsibly. 18 plus and physically located in Ontario. If you have questions or concerns about your gambling or the gambling of someone close to you, please contact Connects Ontario at 1-866-531-2600 to speak to an advisor free of charge. Zach.
You know, some days I come with stories, some days poems, some days jokes.
Sometimes jokes.
Some days I also come with facts and tips for people. And Jeff, when I entered this industry, the best tip I ever got was to always carry gum with me. And now I can't stop chewing this bold mint.
Matt Boldy's in there. Fraser Minton. Best tip I ever got was to always carry gum. Now I can't stop chewing this bold mint. By the way, I shared that with Carissa Donkin on our U Sports broadcasts. It was her first time doing ringside for Linear. And I shared the advice that Cassie Campbell Pascal gave me when I started doing ringside 2007 with Hockey Night. She said, always carry mints. Said, I can't tell you as an athlete how many times I've come off the ice and the person who's interviewing me has the worst breath because they've just had like pretzels and coffees, you know, during their hits and their prep while the periods come on. She said, do the athletes a favor. Take mints everywhere you go and make sure you chew some. That's a tip to all you aspiring broadcasters, by the way. If you're ever doing ringside, courtside, whatever, bring mints with you. So I like that. Owen Tippett, Matt Boldy, and Fraser Minton. $5 pays $170.31. Some good advice there, Zach. Some really good advice. Thanks to Greg Wyshynski for stopping by. As always, thanks to Brent Wallace from the Coming In Hot podcast. Thanks to you for being part of it, either with your ears or eyeballs, or maybe even both. If you've already subscribed to the channel, thank you. If you haven't, please consider doing so. We're back tomorrow. It is a Berkey day. It is Civilian Wednesdays here on the program. Hope you can join us for that and other things right here on the sheet. Monday to Friday, 1 o'clock Eastern. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Jeff Merrick along with you. Hope you enjoyed the program today. If you did, or maybe even if you didn't, they can't all be gems, folks. Please hit the subscribe button. Also a reminder, every morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, Johnny Lazarus, Colby Cohen, I call them the Impact Players. You might know them as a tandem that makes up the Morning Cup of Hockey. Also DFO Live at noon Eastern. This year, your host Tyler Yaremchuk alongside Carter Hutton. Full day's worth of programming right here on Daily Faceoff, your favorite YouTube hockey channel. And as a reminder as well, Zach Phillips, our producer here for the sheet, said if you subscribe, he'll buy you a puppy. It's true.